Hi folks, welcome back to the Hillside Garden. Today we're going to talk about berries. I am sitting in front of my tiny little black raspberry patch and I need to show you all the things that have been going on here. And I did a video last year about the differences between black raspberries, wineberries, and blackberries. And I thought it was a pretty helpful video, but I think it's really good to show you them growing so that you can kind of see the differences out actually in the field growing. I plucked stems last year and showed that. The first thing to know is that they mature at different times of year. So they're all set a couple of weeks apart. The first thing that grows on my property or matures on my property are the black raspberries. So those seem to be the ones that come out first. They flowered first and then they produced first. So that's what's behind me now. The wineberries and the blackberries seem to be a little bit on the same track, but they're still a few weeks behind, I think. At least in my area, they seem to be on parallel tracks, but just a little bit off by a couple of weeks. And that's great because that means that you'll have berries for a longer period of time if you grow all the different kinds. So there are some differences though to know about the berries. Brambles are super easy to grow. It seems to be the thing that I'm best at growing. I don't know why. I didn't set out to be a berry grower, but it seems to be the thing that I'm really good at growing. So I'm gonna embrace it and I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing and enlarge my berry patches to the best of my ability, and then share that information with you so that you all can expand your own berry patches in whatever way you want. Now I do not have regular raspberries here. I have only been using what was found on this property. I never have bought a raspberry plant or a wineberry plant or a blackberry plant. None of those. I've never purchased anything from a catalog. They were growing wild here when we got here, and I've just sort of cultivated them and encouraged them to grow in various ways. The black raspberries, I have to say, are by far my favorite, and I think it's just that they have a unique flavor. They are different from any other berry that I've ever had. Got some ripe ones here, just pluck them off. So they look like a raspberry, except that they are very dark purple, almost black when they're mature. They're shiny, so you can see it kind of shines in the sun. The flavor profile is really different on them. They maintain the tartness, but they finish sweet. So that's a little different than some of the other berries. And I think that's why I like them. I have found that if you mix black raspberry with things, you don't need to add as much sugar if you're making jam in particular. So I've been holding out and keeping all of my black raspberries that I've been pulling off of this little tiny patch in my freezer so that I can make a batch of just black raspberry jam. Low sugar black raspberry jam. So if you know anything about making jam, if you're going to use low sugar pectin, you need about double the amount of berries to do that. I like making low sugar jams, and that means I need about 10 cups of black raspberries, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're picking and you only get a cup from your little tiny patch every day, it takes you a while to get those berries. So I do have some in the freezer, I've got some in the fridge, and I need to pick. I didn't pick this morning, so I need to pick still today. So I'll get another cup or so off today. I'm very close. I have, I think, 8 cups. So I'm really close to my batch of jam. And then I'll make it. I'll bring you guys along when I make the jam. But I really want to try just black raspberry jam because in years past I've always mixed it with other berries, and I think it sort of dilutes the flavor. It's got such a unique flavor profile, which is why I want to make just black raspberry jam. I want to see how it turns out. So one cool thing about identification, the black raspberry, these are native to this area. We're in the Appalachian region, we're in central Maryland, and these black raspberries grow native in this area. I don't know what their range is, but they're pretty common. One of the things about them is they do ripen at different rates. So on the same plant, you'll see them ripening at different rates. I'll show you what I mean by that. So if you look right here, you can see I've got, you know, you've got these are ripe, the black, almost black ones, and then I've got other ones that are very not ripe at all. So I have those to look forward to in a few days. So I only pluck the ones that are this almost black color, the very deep purple. If they still have a burgundy blush on them, here's an example. I do not pick those are not ready. This one is ready. The thing about, if you are trying to identify different bramble bushes when you're hiking or something and you're not sure what you have, one of the easiest ways to tell is by looking at the stem. And on a black raspberry, it's got a glaucous bloom is what we call it. So it's got sort of like this whitish, it almost looks like powder, but it's not. It's just a whitish bloom on the stem, so it gives it a bluish tint, bluish color. That's one of the best ways to tell that that's a black raspberry. Another cool way, if you're still not sure, is when you pluck a berry, a ripe berry. Let me show you what happens. See that white cone? That's very important. That white cone also means that it's a black raspberry. So those are two common ways. All of them have prickles. I've not encountered a bramble yet that doesn't have prickles. There may be some that are bred, you know, specifically that don't have them. I do not have those here. All of mine have prickles, and I constantly look like I have battle scars. I will look like this until probably late October because my yard tries to kill me every year. I post about this on Facebook and Instagram. My yard tries to kill me every year with all kinds of invasive plants and poison ivy and, you know, killer plants, things that are poisonous and things. So anyway, I'm used to it by now and it's no big deal. I find the humor in it, actually. But yes, if you are gonna go picking any brambles, you're going to probably get stuck and you might bleed. So just be aware and be prepared. I'm gonna take you over to the wineberry patch now because I wanna show you the differences between the black raspberry and the wineberry. Wineberries are not native. Totally fine to eat. It's still a bramble, still edible and everything. But eat as many as you want because they're invasive. So, and the critters don't tend to eat them. The birds tend to leave them alone. They're not something that they go after. So feel free to eat as many as you want. And they will replicate on their own. You don't have to worry about them. I try to cut them back here because I know that I have plenty. I don't need them to replicate, and they're not my favorite berry. So what I try to replicate mostly are these black raspberries, and I do tip layer them. And I'll show you in the fall when I do that, how I do it. And you know, and then you can take that to your own landscape and maybe replicate your plants for some fun. So let's go over to the wineberry patch. All right, so I'm next to the wineberries and I want to show you what they look like. So you can see they have fuzzy red heads and their stems are fuzzy. And the underside of their leaves, sorry, I have a beer in my hand, you're just gonna have to deal with it, are silvery. So those are giveaways that that is a wineberry plant. The other thing is, once these berries, you can peek in here and see the berries are coming on. They're underneath the reddish stuff. Once the berries come off, remember how I showed you that the black raspberries had a white cone? These have a bright orange cone, and it looks like traffic cone orange. That's a giveaway that that's a wineberry. And again, they're fine to eat, totally fine to eat. And they make really great pies and jams and all kinds of things. I've used them in my jams. Every time I make mixed berry jam, they're in there because I have so many, and they're wonderful berries. They're just not my favorite, but they are a lot of people's favorites. So you cultivate the berries that you like to grow. It's just wineberries are not my particular favorite. I'm gonna put down my beer because I need to go up the hill. So we're gonna go up the hill to see the blackberries. You guys might have heard me talk about the blackberries. Wow, we have bees everywhere. Still, the bees are still flying. They still are enjoying all my pollinators, which is great. Pollinator plants, I should say. I am not a huge fan of blackberries. I really haven't been in the past, and I think it's just that I didn't have very good blackberries. And last year I had some blackberries that were growing down there. We just came up the hillside with the terraced beds that I made. Last year I had a blackberry plant that was growing down there, and I tried it and it was really bitter. The flavor was definitely not my favorite, and I was not a fan, and I did not put any of those in any of my jams because it just did not have a good flavor. So I really wanted to make more of the black raspberries because I thought those have a great flavor profile, and that's kind of what I want to do. Well, the black raspberries do really well down there, but the blackberries, when I cut this path in, you might remember, I cut this path in to get up to the new patio area and mushroom experiment. Well, as I did that, I realized that there are blackberries on this hillside. So many blackberries, I can't even, it's beyond what I can see because I'm so short. But it's about 30 feet long of blackberries and about 20 feet deep blackberries. And they're on the other side of the trail too. These are all blackberries too. So the other thing that I've realized is that these blackberries taste very different than the ones that were growing down the hill. These are very sweet. So they've started to ripen at the bottom. I've noticed that they ripen, the bottom fruits ripen first, and then they move up the plant. So I've been finding a few here and there that are ripe and ready to go. See if I can find one today. Oh, here we go. And they're huge. I mean, blackberries normally are bigger fruits anyway. I mean, these are way bigger than my raspberries or the wineberries. So good. They've got, again, just the right amount of tart and sweet, just very tasty berries. So I'm very much looking forward to this. And this is where my mistake would come in. Had I not realized, had I not taken the chance and eaten one of the berries from up here, I would have pushed all of these blackberries back and put in my raspberries here. That would have been a very big mistake. So that is sort of the topic of tonight, because I want to show you sort of like epiphany, serendipity, whatever you want to call it, holy crap moment, that I had something really awesome on my hands up here on the hillside. Look at these. I mean, loaded with berries. You might remember from a previous vlog I did, and I talked about all the white flowers up on the hillside were blackberries. I'm not kidding you. These are all loaded with berries. Look, more more berries. And they're all like within, you know, picking distance. Berries galore. I mean, really. So, I'm reconsidering the my choice about blackberries, my decision to push these back. I may still push some back to put in some beds along this pathway, but I really want to keep some of these blackberries and provide access to them. So one of the things, these are native. These were here. I did not plant anything. These were naturally growing here. No one planted these. So I want to give you some pointers about identifying blackberries versus raspberries and wineberries. Let me find a good stem. This one looks good. So as the blackberries grow and get older, you can see right where my fingers are, the stems become fluted. They are still prickly, you can still see the thorns on them and everything, but they become fluted or ridged, and the berries look very different. You can see that. When you pull a blackberry off of its stem, there should be no cone left. Remember how I said the black raspberry has a white cone, wineberry has an orange cone? These should have no cone, and that means it's a blackberry. And these are Allegheny blackberries. They're a native variety. They grow here just all over the place. I don't know that I've ever seen a patch this big in the wild, but that's not, you know, of course they could exist. I'm just super excited that I have this patch and that I'm gonna be able to take advantage of it. I probably will be able to easily get a just blackberry batch of low sugar jam, which I'm super stoked about because, I mean, I couldn't ask for something better. This is just awesome and just a nice serendipitous moment. And also I'm so glad that I didn't make that mistake and push these back. I'm really glad I tried one and that I took a chance on ones that were growing up here. This is a really good example of microclimates as well as soil pockets. So I don't know why the berries up here, the blackberries up here, taste different than they would growing down there, other than I can tell you the soils are very different here than they are down there. And it's likely that that is in a little tiny pocket, a microclimate pocket. Up here they're getting a lot more sun, they're getting beaten with the wind. It's just a really different habitat for them up here, and they may need that. So you gotta look at those kinds of things when you're growing. And there's a really cool hummingbird moth that is up here and it's just flying around. I want to get a shot of it, but I can't because it's going all over the place. Anyway, so it's an example of things, you know, if you try something in one spot in your yard and it doesn't do very well, it may actually just need to be moved. And so now that I planted the black raspberries up here just beyond the fence line, I'm wondering if they're actually gonna taste the way that they taste down there. It's gonna be very curious next year when they develop their secondary canes. So I'll bring you back for that because that's gonna be a really good taste test just to see what differences I can taste. And it's all really because of the soil and the, you know, sunlight differences and things. So that is my lesson for tonight. It could have been a very big mistake and it wasn't. It's not gonna be a mistake. I'm gonna use this patch to my advantage. We are gonna have just oodles and oodles of blackberries. I'm so excited. And I hate blackberries. I don't buy them from the store, so this is great. I like to grow things that I don't buy because, you know, why am I growing stuff? I want to grow stuff that's unique and different and things that I can't find at the store, or at least I can't find them except for very rare instances. Sorry, my gate. I'm trying to put that back. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed tonight's lesson on berries. Again, it's the thing that I can grow really well. So we will be back with another vlog soon on what's growing in the garden. I didn't want to do a full garden tour. There's too much stuff, and I'll show you what is growing well and what is not growing well, because I have some failures and that's okay. But I hope you all are able to get outside and have some fun. So with that, I will say happy gardening, and I'll catch you outside.